After studying this module, you shall be able to know the LM approach of project appraisal, to identify the similarities between UNIDO and LM approaches, learn the concept of shadow price, tradable, labor and residual components, know the concept of shadow wage rate. Introduction. The social cost benefit analysis is a methodology for evaluating the projects from the social point of view. In module 23, we have discussed one of the basic approach used for SCBA, that is UNIDO, that is UNIDO analysis. This module is concerned with LM approach. An attempt has also been made to compare the similarity and differences between these two approaches. Little Mirrlees approach. The LM approach provides a comprehensive framework for SCBA in developing countries. In this regard, there are two publications. First, Manual of Industrial Project Analysis in Developing Countries, Volume 2, and second is the Project Appraisal and Planning for Developing Countries. The approach has been named on the basis of their developers, that is LMD Little and JA Mirrlees. Similarities between UNIDO and LM approaches. The approach developed by Little and Mirrlees for social cost benefit analysis is considerably similar to that of the UNIDO approach. Some of the similarities. First, calculation of accounting or shadow prices for foreign exchange saving and unskilled labor. Second, consideration of factor of equity. Third, usage of discounted case flow analysis. It means under both the approaches, the cash flows are taken at their present value after applying discount factor. Next is the difference between UNIDO and LM approach. The major items of differences between both the approaches. First, domestic prices versus international prices. L and M approach measures cost and benefits in terms of international prices, that is border prices, whereas the UNIDO approach measures cost and benefit in terms of the domestic rupees. Second, social income versus consumption. L and M approach measures the cost and benefit in terms of uncommitted social income, whereas the UNIDO approach measures the cost and benefits in terms of consumption. Third, stage-wise versus efficiency, etc. The L and M approach considers efficiency, savings and redistribution together for analysis, whereas in UNIDO these considerations are looked into and done in different stages. Next is the classification of inputs and outputs of a project. The inputs and outputs of a project are classified into first, traded goods and services, second, non-traded goods and services, and third, labor. Let us discuss all these three inputs and outputs in detail. Traded goods and services. The concept of tradability of goods and services depend upon the fact whether it can be imported or exported. If a country is unable to meet out its requirement out of the domestic production and it imports those goods, then the goods are treated as tradable. Similarly, if the good can be exported instead of domestic consumption, then also the goods are said to be tradable. But there may be trade barriers like tariffs, quantitative restrictions, etc., due to which some goods are not tradable. Tradable goods are those goods which are actually traded. In order to be fully traded, domestic changes in demand and supply are important. But simultaneously, the impact of project should also be considered, that the project is expected to leave on market price and domestic production. The relevant conditions to be fulfilled in order to consider a good as fully traded. First is import quota. If the goods are subject to an import quota, the available quantity at present is only partially taken up, or the quota will be expended to allow additional demands for inputs to be met in the international market. Second is perfectly elastic supply. The import supply tends towards the perfect elasticity over the relevant range of import volumes, which implies no rise in supply cost and thus no decrease in demand. Third is the excess domestic capacity. It is also important to see whether the country is able to produce more goods in case of any requirement. For that purpose, the existence of excess capacity should be considered. There is no excess capacity in the domestic industry. All additional supply must come from abroad. If there is any domestic excess capacity, it must be due to the shortages not of demand but of necessary inputs that will remain unavailable. Fourth is the marginal cost of the domestic production. If the additional demand occurs inland, the import price including the transport cost from the port of entry do not exceed the marginal cost of the local production, so that imported goods are still cheaper. Fifth, the marginal cost of purchase. The import price of the input including taxes is less than the domestic marginal cost of purchase, including taxes, profit margins, etc. The next is non-traded goods and services. The non-traded goods are those goods whose real domestic cost of production together with its international transport cost is too high to permit exports and too low to make import attractive. The non-traded goods are tradable goods which are not traded because of the trade policies of the country. It means the tradable goods that are not freely traded today will not be freely traded in future and should be treated as non-tradable goods. Segregation into tradable and non-tradable. The inputs are segregated into tradable and non-tradable on first, raw materials and stores. These are in general treated as traded goods. Second is power, fuel and water. These are treated as non-traded goods except when the cost of fuel is significant. Third is repairs and maintenance, which is generally a non-traded item. Fourth is selling expenses, which is again a non-traded item. Fifth is administrative overheads. Now, administrative overheads contain two components, labor cost and other expenses. The labor cost is included in the value added. Therefore, it is not considered. The other expenses like rent, telephone and telegraph etc. are traded as non-tradable items. Next heading is of labor. Like other goods and services, the principles of shadow pricing are also applicable on labor. Basically, labor should be considered as a service and not goods. But for the purpose of shadow pricing, the principles of shadow pricing used for goods are used for labor. In respect of any project, manpower is required in addition to other inputs. It means the labor is hired for the project. The analyst must consider the project's impact on the rest of the economy when it hires labor. Now, there are three possible impacts on the rest of the economy when a labor is hired depending upon the situation. Situation 1. Labor taken from other employments. It refers to the situations where the worker is already employed and thus it is necessary to consider the production that would be given up if they left to work in the proposed project. It means it will have impact of taking labor away from the other users. Situation 2. Induce the production of new workers. In this case, workers already working in other employments are not affected. The other projects and industries are also not affected. This has impact of the improvement of the productivity of unemployed workers, urban employment of rural workers, or skilled employment of previously unskilled workers, etc. It is related with the use of unutilized manpower available with the country. Situation 3. Hiring from abroad. Another way of hiring a labor may be neither to take labor from other employment nor to induce new workers. Rather than hiring the worker is made from abroad. It definitely has a clear-cut economic cost. The next heading is LM's criteria to use world prices. As a part of SCBA, in order to calculate the cost and benefits of the project, market values of inputs and outputs are used. But these market values may not reflect their true value. That is why shadow prices are used. Now, in the process of production of goods and services, domestic as well as imported goods are used. Similarly, the benefits may also be in two prices. In order to avoid this problem, Professor I. M. Little and James Mirrlees advocated the use of the world prices. Next is shadow price. Shadow prices of traded goods. Under LM approach, cost and benefits are measured in terms of international prices, also referred as the border prices. The provisions related with the traded goods. First, FOB price. If a good is exported, its shadow price is its FOB price. Second is CIF price. If a good is imported, its shadow price is its CIF price. The marginal export revenue is substituted for the FOB price if the foreign demand is not perfectly elastic and if the foreign supply is not perfectly elastic. The border price is that border price represent correct social opportunity cost or benefits of using or producing a traded good. Next is shadow prices of non-traded goods. Shadow prices of non-traded goods are defined in terms of the marginal social cost and benefits. The resource used to produce an extra unit of a good is the marginal cost of a good. The value of an extra unit of the good from social point of view is the marginal social benefit. When a good is not taxed and is consumed by only one income group, then its marginal social benefit is equals to the market price multiplied by a factor which represents the value assigned to an increase in the income of that group vis-a-vis on consumption is 2:1. Then the shadow price of the non-traded output will be 2/3 marginal social cost plus 1/3 marginal social benefit. Next is the use of conversion factors. Calculation of marginal social cost and benefit is practically difficult. Therefore, LM suggested that the monetary cost of non-traded item is to be broken down into tradable, labor and residual components. The tradable and residual components may then be converted into social cost by applying the suitable social conversion factor. The labor component social cost can be obtained by using the shadow wage rate. Shadow wage rate. This is an important but a difficult factor in social cost benefit analysis as it is a function of several factors like the marginal productivity of labor, the cost associated with urbanization, the cost of an additional amount committed to the consumption when the consumption of workers increases as a result of the higher income he enjoys in the urban employment. The following is the formula for calculation of the shadow wage rate which has been suggested by LM. SWR is equals to C dash minus 1 by S into C minus M, where SWR is the shadow wage rate, C dash is the additional resources devoted for consumption, 1 by S is the value of a unit of committed resource, and M stands for the marginal product of the wage earner. The above formula can be expressed as follows to make the impact of various factors on the shadow wage rate more clear. SWR is equals to M plus C dash minus C plus 1 minus 1 by S into C minus M. The first term M represents the marginal product of labor. The social wage rate increases with the increase in M. C dash minus C represents the cost of providing the consumption level of C to the worker. In other words, it is the additional cost to be incurred for providing the worker an urbanized life. Again, higher the cost of urbanization, that is higher C dash minus C, higher is going to be the shadow wage rate. 1 by S is the value of each unit of committed resource. Higher the value, lower is the shadow rate if C is greater than M. Practical problems. Illustration 24.1. LM approach suggests considering marginal productivity of labor, cost associated with the cost of having an additional amount committed to consumption. While doing social cost and benefit analysis using LM approach, an economist has collected the information. First, workers' wage, that is W, is equals to rupees 30. Second, output foregone, that is WI, is rupees 9. Third is the investment foregone, which is represented as ARC, which is given as 0.7. Fourth is the standardized distributional weight, that is given by DI divided by V, which is given as 1.5. And fifth is the conversion factor, which is represented by ARW and is given as 0.9. Translating wage measured in market prices into foreign exchange equivalent. Now, considering the SCBA approach given by LM, you are required to find out economic wage rate, that is EWR, extra social cost element, and the social wage rate, that is SWR. Solution. A. Economic wage rate, that is EWR. Output foregone in rupees into conversion factor, that is WI into ARW, which is equals to 9 into 0.9, which is rupees 8.10. B. Extra social cost element, which is given as W minus WI minus W minus WI into DI divided by V, which is again equals to 30 minus 9 minus 30 minus 9 into 1.5, which gives us 21 minus 21 into 1.5, which is equals to 21 minus 31.5, which is again equals to minus 10.5. Now, this value is to be multiplied by ARC. It means the evaluation is to be made at economic price, then it gives the following: minus 10.50 into 0.7 equals to minus 7.35. C. Social wage rate, that is SWR. Social wage rate is equals to EWR plus social cost. Therefore, we can write 8.10 plus bracket minus 7.35, which is equals to about 0.75. Illustration 24.2. Consider the following information in relation to a project to be analyzed using social cost benefit analysis. Workers' wage, that is W, is equals to rupees 60. Output foregone, that is WI, is equals to rupees 18. Investment foregone, that is ARC, is equals to 0.6. Standardized distributional weight, that is DI divided by V, is equals to 1.4, and conversion factor, that is ARW, is equals to 0.7. Now, on the basis of the above information, you are required to find out A. EWR, that is economic wage rate, B. extra social cost element, and C. SWR, that is social wage rate. Solution. Economic wage rate, that is EWR. It is given by the formula output foregone in rupees into conversion factor, which is equals to WI into ARW, which is equals to 18 into 0.7, which is equals to rupees 12.6. B. Extra social cost element. This is given by the formula W minus Wi minus W minus Wi into Di divided by V into ARC, which is again equals to 60 minus 18 minus 60 minus 18 into 1.4 into 0.6, which is equals to 42 minus 42 into 1.4 into 0.6, which is again equals to 42 minus 58.8 into 0.6, which is equals to minus 16.8 into 0.6, and which is equals to minus 10.08. Third is the social wage rate, that is SWR, which is equals to EWR plus social cost. Therefore, it could be given as 12.60 plus minus 10.08, which is equals to 2.52. Illustration 24.3. The following information is available. First, economic wage rate is rupees 4. Second, social wage rate is equals to 0.8 rupees. And third, conversion factor is equals to 0.80. Now find out social cost and output foregone. Solution for the same is social wage rate is equals to EWR plus social cost. By adjusting this particular formula, we can also write social cost is equals to social wage rate minus EWR, which is given as 0.8 minus 4, which is equals to minus 3.2. Second is economic wage rate, which is equals to output foregone in rupees into conversion factor. So by adjusting this formula, we can also say that output foregone is equals to economic wage rate divided by the conversion factor, which is equals to rupees 4 divided by 0.8, and thus we can say that output foregone is rupees 5. While appraising a project using LM approach, the basis that can be used may be social conversion factor, component wise SCF or international prices, FOB or CIF. How the basis of conversion is decided? In respect of the following items, identify the basis of conversion. Items of initial outlay and annual financial cost is being given in the table as repair and maintenance, water, fuel, etc. Plant and machinery, that is indigenous, where CIF value is given. Next is the technical know-how fees, transportation cost, bank charges, buildings, pre-operative expenses, plant and machinery again imported where CIF value is given, land, imported raw material, salaries, electricity, that is rate portion, then indigenous raw material and miscellaneous overheads. Solution. Rules for the basis of conversion. The following are the rules for the basis of conversion. First, all non-labor inputs and outputs are valued at international prices, whereas inputs are valued at CIF prices and outputs are valued at FOB prices. Second is the social conversion factor, that is SCF, are used for tradable items where international prices are not available and also for non-tradable items. Third, in some cases like building, transport, electricity, water, fuel, etc., the actual rupee cost is broken down into three components: tradable, labor and residual. Thus, we can see table that what are the basis of conversion against the different items. Repair and maintenance is being converted as tradable item, SCF. Water and fuel, etc. is splitting required into T, L and R. For plants and machinery where CIF value is given, we can say that the basis of conversion is CIF value. For technical know-how fees, the basis of conversion is the tradable item, that is SCF. Transportation cost is splitting required into T, L and R. Then bank charges are the CIF value. In buildings, we can say that the basis of conversion is still splitting required in T, L and R. Then pre-operative expenses is being converted as tradable items as in SCF. Then plant and machinery where CIF value is given is being converted as CIF value. Land is a tradable item. Imported raw material, the basis of conversion is CIF value. Salaries are tradable item. Electricity, the basis of conversion, splitting required into T, L and R. Indigenous raw material is a tradable item, and miscellaneous overheads, again the basis of conversion is the tradable items, that is SCF. UNIDO versus LM approach regarding labor. In the UNIDO analysis, the shadow prices reflect only the economic efficiency of labor. The impact on savings and consumption of hiring labor is analyzed separately in stage 3, while the impact on income distribution is reviewed in stage 4. This step-by-step approach sets the UNIDO method apart from the little Mirrlees method, where the social cost and benefit of employing the workers are built into the shadow wage rate. The UNIDO method is therefore advantageous as it identifies explicitly the economic cost of pursuing social objectives. It also permits the effects of income distribution that lie outside the wage effects to be included. To sum up, we can say that the shadow wage rate can be determined in a manner directly analogous to that used for other inputs. The impact may fall on other employers, on the production of labor, or on its imports. It should also be noted that the additional consumption of foreign exchange out of the additional earnings because of the project should be included as one of the economic cost of employing labor. Summary. The LM approach has been named on the basis of their developers, that is LMD Little and JA Mirrlees. The LM approach is based upon two publications, Manual of Industrial Project Analysis in Developing Countries Volume 2 and Project Appraisal and Planning for Developing Countries. The approach developed by Little and Mirrlees for social cost benefit analysis is considerably similar to that of the UNIDO approach. LM approach measures cost and benefits in terms of international prices or border prices. The LM approach measures cost and benefits in terms of uncommitted social income. Tradable goods are those goods which are actually traded. The non-tradable goods are those goods whose real domestic cost of production together with its international transport cost is too high to permit export and too low to make import attractive. For the purpose of shadow pricing, the principle of shadow pricing used for goods are used for labor. Under LM approach, cost and benefits are measured in terms of international prices, also referred as border prices. FOB, exports, CIF for imports.